WWE are no strangers to pushing the boundaries of what is acceptable in society, and as you will see in the following video, these moments never reflect well on the company. 10 most inappropriate WWE moments caught on live TV. Piggy James. WWE have made it known that they don't stand for bullying, as they have partnered with many anti-bullying programs in recent years. Unfortunately, that doesn't apply to their own storylines, as one rather poor-tasting one involved the bullying of Mickie James for her quote-unquote weight problems. This was done by Laycool, as they dressed up in fat suits and constantly referred to her as Piggy James, despite James being an extremely attractive woman. Exploiting Eddie Guerrero's death. Unfortunately, the wrestling industry is a grueling, tough business, and many performers have passed due to their time in wrestling. As we have seen in recent years, exploiting these deaths is never a good thing, but the worst came after Eddie Guerrero's tragic passing in 2005. In a feud between Rey Mysterio and Randy Orton, he proclaimed to Mysterio that Eddie was in hell, which made seemingly everyone in the world uncomfortable except Vince McMahon. Muhammad Hassan. Hassan was the apex of WWE stars portraying offensive gimmicks, and combined with the poor timing of it, he was never going to last. He furthered the negative connotations Americans had about Muslims following 9/11, despite being Italian-American, by summoning masked men when praying. Yeah, it was never going to end well. His incredibly inappropriate run ended abruptly, as he brought out these masked men to attempt to hang The Undertaker, on an episode that aired the same day as the London bombings. Really? Attempting suicide. This one happened way before the Chris Benoit tragedy, but is even more distasteful when looking back on it after that incident. Road Warrior Hawk was tasked with playing a character who suffered from substance abuse issues, which in itself was inappropriate, as he had actually dealt with that issue. One night he climbed a scaffold in order to commit suicide, and although it never happened, the Road Warriors quit WWE shortly after. We don't know whether this influenced the decision, but it was in poor taste nonetheless. Live sex celebration. While this one may have been popular with the male audience, as it was one of the highest viewed segments of the era, this definitely wouldn't fly in today's WWE. After winning his first WWE title, the rated R superstar Edge decided to celebrate by having sex with his girlfriend Lita in the middle of the ring. No full-on nudity was seen, but in the PG era, this is something WWE would never do. So don't expect this from Rusev and Lana anytime soon. Choppy Choppy. This time we have a played-out, inappropriate Japanese stereotype, Mr. Yamaguchi of Kaientai. His infamous and inappropriate moment came when Yamaguchi was involved in a story with Val Venus. Val had tried to get with his wife, so the manager attempted to choppy Venus's member off. It may have been alright back then as it was the Attitude Era, but it's horrible looking back on it today. Eugene. Eugene was one of the most memorable characters on Raw in the Ruthless Aggression era, and it wasn't for a good reason. Played by the talented Nick Dinsmore, Eugene was a character portrayed as having learning difficulties, who was also abused and bullied by both Eric Bischoff and Vince McMahon. This was one of the most offensive characters in WWE history, despite him having a fair amount of success as a performer. Another case of Vince thinking that something that makes everyone uncomfortable is good material. The Mexicools. Racism is unfortunately still alive in 2016, but it was on full display on SmackDown during the brand split era. In a poor display of stereotypes of the Mexican culture, the Mexicools were referred to as gringos and came to the ring in overalls while riding a lawnmower. Yeah, it was pretty bad. The gimmick didn't last long, and it was unfortunate as the three wrestlers were all incredibly talented cruiserweights that shined in WCW and ECW. Poor form, Vince McMahon. Katie Vick. By now, I'm sure that 99% of WWE fans know what happened here, but it is still shocking and disgusting to this day. The backstory to the rivalry between Kane and Triple H was wild and inappropriate, but it's this one act that stands above all the others in infamy. In a segment, Triple H dressed as Kane and pretended to have sex with a dead body in a funeral home. Don't worry, it was just a mannequin. It was actually insane, and I'm sure both men wanted to be forgotten forever. The N-Bomb. This one was as awkward as it was inappropriate, and featured Vince McMahon, the big boss. While chatting with John Cena and trying to be cool, McMahon dropped the N-Bomb. The camera then panned to a shocked Booker T and Sharmell and left the entire WWE universe wondering what they had just witnessed. It may have been just one moment as opposed to a character or a storyline, but it was incredibly inappropriate and shocking. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and check out the rest of the Sportster's awesome video content. And remember, just because a company like WWE can get away with such inappropriate things, it doesn't make them okay.